Hey, and welcome back to my channel. So here starts the next project, and you can see it is Space 1999 Hawk. Having done the 1/72nd scale as sort of a test bed for the things that I want to do in a proof of concept, figured I'd go ahead and get started on this one. So I do have the lab pod in 1/48 scale, lab pod Eagle, there we go, in the 1/48 scale, and I wanted to go ahead and do this one as well. As is my want, we will go ahead and take a look at what's in the box here, and then we'll talk a little bit about the project, and then we'll get started. So you can see the box, right? These are renders or images of the film of the Hawk in its filming miniature version. There's two versions. You see it in the orange version in the episodes, but there's also and this one doesn't show it, there's also the pre-episode version of it, which was in the white and with the black on the with basically it didn't have the orange. And if I recall correctly, it was the orange was added to differentiate it on screen because for some reason they figured that would make a difference. If we look around the box, here's pictures actually of the episode as you see it, right? Some nice artwork, right? And this is photographs of, gives you the painting guide, etc. And you get a pretty extensive transfer sheet. And you get a dome support for this. Now, I'm going to do something a little different. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, if I go ahead and crack this open, I have removed the wrapping around the box. But if you also look here on the sides, just like they did on the 72nd scale, this is where your transfer guide list is. All right, so where you find your transfers and how to put your transfers on, that's here. Now, it looks like that's actually a transfer, which is interesting. I had to paint that on the other one. This is kind of cool. Here's your stand, which is also kind of neat. These are your transfers, your instruction sheet, and then all the plastic. So let's go ahead and take a quick look first at the instruction guide and see what that has to go. We're going to go ahead and zoom down a little bit more. It's easier for me here. All right, take it there. So if you look at it, this is a sci-fi model, and typical of sci-fi models are pretty simple. I know that when I did the 72nd scale, I had mold line issues that need to be cleaned. We'll take a look at these. These had ejector pin marks. Now these are all separate pieces as are these, which is going to be interesting. And a lot of your greebly detail here is separate, where that was all molded in on the 72nd scale as well. And then here are, so these extra pieces were molded in on the other one as on the smaller one as well. This is how the thrusters go together, and I do like this style. I like them in that they're molded this way, and you don't have a glue seam as they go around. These are pretty straightforward. I know that this stuff always frustrates you. You always end up having a line on the cylinder you've got to clean up, and this one's going to be irritating. And this is, you can see there's that ribbing, so you're going to have a seam you're going to need to clean up there. You do have these tanks to put together, and then as you can see, it's pretty straightforward and simple, and then they go together. It kind of drops in. Now I'm going to point something out that I found out on the smaller scale version that is going to be an issue here as well. When you start looking, when you get this to about this point, you have to start thinking about your transfers, right? So you have this one, and note that as you start looking at these and you go to put this together, where your transfers are is going to become relevant, because these assemblies, this here and these, are going to make it difficult to get where the transfers go, because there are transfers on the bottom. I can bring this up here real quick. These transfers here are going to be underneath that. And if this is a transfer, then you want to be able to get to that before you put that in there as well, right? So take a good look at where those transfers are. Now, doing the transfers as transfers might need to think a little bit, because there are, I'm going to go ahead and get to the transfers. You have to think about the painting as well. So if you look at these, so you have some transfers, but you don't have the orange on the, like the beak, on the back tank. So if you want them to match, you need to think about whether or not you want to do those as transfers or just paint all of those. So with these separate, that'll make painting those in your steel easier. So all of that's going to help, right? Being able to put these, again, on the 42nd, on the 72nd scale, these all needed to be painted separately. With this, you don't have to. So that's really nice. And you can see it's 21 steps, and they are really simplistic. Let's take a look at the actual transfer list now. Now, what you do have here is you have all these detail parts, or these, detail transfers. Like this one here, like number 72, that's one that goes on one of the bottom panels. If you look at 77 here and 75, those are going to go underneath those ribs that I told you about, and spine work that I showed you. So all of these will go on their various places, and something to call out. These here are for the white version. So if the hawk is left in its all over white paint scheme, then these are relevant. You want to put those on, because it was in that was when it was painted more to look like the eagle, which is what was causing confusion for the producers, I guess, and they wanted it to be done differently. But there you go. That's the transfers, and they're pretty nice. If they're anything like the ones for the smaller one, they're pretty easy to work with. So let's now take a look at the plastic. We can do this here. As we look at this is really nice. The way these are molded, and this is the thing, I love the way these types of things are molded, such that you don't have a mold line or a seam line you've got to worry about on these big engine bells, right? You can clean those up and they'll be good. Some nice detail parts. These are those tanks for the back. This looks like it's the stand. These were really, really flimsy on the 72nd scale, but they're what they are. These are those detail parts for around the engine. Let's see if we can get to the focus. There we go. Sorry. And these are your thruster, your RC thrusters. Now this is cool, right? So on my 72nd scale, I had to drill them out. And if I recall correctly, when I built the Eagle in 48 scale, I also had to drill them out. This, I don't. So that'll be kind of neat. I think that's that one. And then this here will be this. And I suspect I'm going to see a duplicate of this one in here. And sure enough, there it is. So here is, well, okay, so it's not a duplicate. It's just, yeah, it is. So this is a duplicate of the same. Your edge part. And again, the detail on these is nice. The detail parts, I don't, and this is where I'm wondering, do I feel, yeah, there's a bit of a mold line there. So that'll need to be cleaned off, but it's not terribly drastic. So that's pretty cool. All right, so that's that one. And now this is, and this was where, yep, and there we go. So this is where we had seam lines on a visible part on the smaller one, but here these are hidden inside this build, so that'll be nice. That's your framework. When I had the framework for the smaller one, these were broken. They were really flimsy, but this is much better done. It's done very well. This is actually straight, which is nice. You're going to need to clean that up. And again, I feel a seam. Yeah, I can feel a mold line. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus on it at all. There you go. Come on, focus here. There we go. You can kind of see it. You can see it back here. So it's there, but that isn't bad. That's just a little bit of cleanup. This is interesting the way these are done, in that these are done in two parts, and then these holes, which are actually going to be visible, you'll need to clean those up. And then the detail parts for the back are nice and sharp. I'm very happy with these are really sharp. This is goes around the main engine bell. These are very sharp, very nicely done. And then the final big piece, if I can get my fingers to work, the final bag here has the big pieces in it. So go ahead and open this. Okay. So now this is where, again, this is like typical spaceship model. You have big pieces, but the detail on this is really nice. And I suspect these are going to go together well, but if you look here, you're going to see, there's a little bit of a seam here, and you've got these big sprue gates right there, big chunks of sprue gate right there. So you'll need to clean those up, and that'll be on both the top and bottom. If you look here, now the bottom here is also pretty nicely done. And this is where the stand would go. And there you go. So that is the 1/48 scale version of the Hawk. Now, those of you who are interested in this kit and were curious about what's in the box, there you go. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the project. So as I did with I did a proof of concept with my 1/72 scale, and I want to do this landed. I have a thing. This miniature was built to be seen in flight. It was built to be an adversary, and is built over a span of days to need a filming need. So there wasn't a whole lot of thought to the hey, if they're going to land, how are we going to handle it, da-da-da. So I'm going to do some sprucing up. And what I found with the 1/72 scale is a good way to have this work is a landing gear leg can extend out of this spot here. And there is room, so if you'll see this would go here, for a landing gear leg to extend out of one of these. So what I am thinking of doing, and again, I'm going to take liberty because this is a sci-fi kit and I need to build it in such a way that my engineer brain doesn't freak out and go, oh, there's no way that could fit there or anything work. So what I'm going to do is make these gear legs short so that it's going to sit very low to the ground. But there's room here clearly for a leg to extend out. And there is enough room under here and in that tank assembly, which is these guys here, the way these go together, that a gearing could work. So what I did for the smaller one was I just sort of mocked something up. What I've done for this, I picked up on Shapeways, and these are Star Wars U-Wing landing gear. And this is this was actually in Shapeways, and I can't remember exactly what scale it was, but this landing gear could theoretically, and from my perspective, will work. So what I want to do is I'll basically break this off at about this point and this point, mate these two together so that this landing gear is sitting about here. I have a nice look of landing gear there, right? And that can, what I'll also do is open these. Basically, if I take these and flip them sideways. Now the easy way to do this would be to make actually these be the landing gear itself, right? Which is, if I look at that, it's almost right. So I could shorten this up I could shorten this up and make this almost the right length of one of those. So I'm still going to fiddle with how I want to exactly do that. And the same with this one. And all I have to do is make it look like this was where those came out of. So that's my plan, is to take these and make this look landed. So when I put this together, I'm going to need to do some work inside here to build a small gear bay. Have to do the same with these, which means I'm going to have to put this together I'm going to have to kind of be creative in how I do that. But I can do that. That's for later videos. This was the unboxing and sort of step one for this project. And I totally missed something. So this one comes with clear parts. And they were sitting in the box and I totally missed it. So sorry about that. But if we go ahead and pop this open. Now, this does not have a cockpit. And I'll have to see where those clear parts go. But those are nice and clear. Now, there does exist on Shapeways at 308 bits, is actually the name of the shop, I believe, does a cockpit for this. So that also might be on my agenda for this. So we'll see how far down that path I want to go. Could go there. I haven't decided yet. So now, for real, that was actually all of it. And now you've seen that. So stay tuned, and we will crack into a project for 1/48 scale Space 1999 Hawk. I hope that this review or view into the box was helpful and useful for folks. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. Happy modeling.